My name is Stefanie. I am beyond thrilled to be part of this global movement. Even if we're not like together right now, I'm imagining us creating a grid around the world, really coming together with the same intention about something really important: birth, parenthood, and how we live on the planet, really. How we experience life as human species and how do we evolve and how do we thrive. So I'm tuning in from Cyprus. That's a small island in the Mediterranean Sea. And I am beyond words. I have no words to describe the, the joy that it brings me to share this body of work with you. Beyond my titles, which are I'm a doula, I am a Tantric healing therapist, and I have a background in science in clinical embryology. Beyond that, I deeply care about women living fully the potential of pivotal points in our lives, like birth, motherhood, sexuality, and be transformed through them by fully standing in our power. So I really am here to support women stay in their power and find the ways to utilize these pivotal points of transition that ancient civilizations knew all about it and were part of their daily lives. They're part of their education, part of their way of being. So what drives my work is the children. I want to see children being born embodied in environments that are beneficial to prevent trauma, and they are received in their community as these wise beings by people, their parents, their communities, who are integrated whole beings. Having walked through these pivotal points, these transitions intact. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Walked through these pivotal points, these transitions intact. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. So the subject that I want to be sharing today is something that has been shaped along the way of my own experience and in working with women, and has shaped me really over the last more than a decade now. I want to share a little bit how I got to this. So there was a point in my life where I was studying in Oxford to be a clinical embryologist, and how I came to this really was because of my in retrospect, knowing that I really wanted to help people having children. I had this caring nature and I thought that was the way. But studying it and being part of this system showed me again and again that science wasn't enough for me to paint the whole picture, to really understand the deeper layers of disease, or how I view it was not being at ease with something that is happening inside. So just treating symptoms and trying from the symptom to understand the whole picture, it was not enough for me. That year in Oxford, I was also pregnant and I had a miscarriage. I was deeply in love with my partner at the time, but we broke up. And the combination of all this, trying to figure out what I was doing in life, losing a baby and breaking up, really broke me open and kind of started this shedding process, this awakening process that took me really deep into meeting myself and meeting my true calling. So I decided to quit my job and follow my heart, follow those sparks that were guiding me in traveling the world and meeting people and experiences, which slowly took me into meeting myself and meeting my purpose. And I found myself in Sierra Nevada in Spain, where it was like an eco community where women were birthing at home with midwives and doulas. And that's where I found out what doulas are. And I saw the power that these women had, not just in their giving birth, but midwives and doulas. And that's where I found out what doulas are. And I saw the power that these women had, not just in their giving birth, but how that followed their mothering, how that followed them being part of a community and the ecosystem that they were living in, and how that whole ecosystem was shaped by those decisions that these women were making. And it felt like a veil was uncovered, it felt like a veil has dropped, that I saw the truth. I saw the truth about birth and this full body yes, that this is what I wanted to do. So I went on to study with Michelle Odent to become a doula, which felt more like a remembering. Like, it wasn't about the knowledge, it was more like the rightness of how things are supposed to be done. So it felt like I discovered a truth that I really wanted to share with the whole world. So I went to Cyprus, where I am from originally, and I was like, I need to share this with the whole world, and try to find ways on how I can have access to the crowd. I decided to go to the public hospital and ask them to give a lecture there, which somehow I found my way in. And I gave that lecture, that class to those women. It was a room full of pregnant women and their partners. And I was like, yes, my message is going across. And then after that, this midwife comes to me, which was like the head of the midwifery in that hospital, and told me, Stefanie, yeah, these things that you're saying, they're good, but you should not tell them to people. And I'm like, what? Why? We cannot deliver that. And I'm like, yes, but why? You're the ones that are right there in the front line of birth. How can you not deliver that? And they were like, yes, but we have to refer to the doctors, and I realized that there was this hierarchical system that they have to refer back to based on legalities that were not really allowing them to behave in a way that they knew was right. And I was like, okay, if they can't do it and I cannot start from the system, I have to do something else. So I started with one woman at a time, changing birth from the inside. And somehow I just found my way, and more women wanting to have a natural birth, but they were not ready to have a home birth or have an unassisted birth. Cyprus, by the way, it's some people even think it's illegal, which is not, but is definitely not supported by the system. There are no independent midwives. So these women had to find a way to give birth in the way that their body wanted to give birth, in the way that they came into the recognition that is possible. And it wasn't until really my own birth, which you see here in the picture, that everything kind of came together to me, where I prepared for home birth, an assisted home birth, in which I invested so many years educating others and, in a way, investing myself in that picture. But somehow I came to give birth in a hospital understanding why now, because I feel like I needed to experience that in order for me to be able to share it in a way that I put myself in the place of those women, really understanding the difficulties they go through, wanting to have a natural birth, being at a hospital, and experiencing myself those difficulties. And that helped me even more to share this message. My intention really for doing this work is to bridge nature and science. And what I mean by that bridging or the union is that I feel that whatever we come to experience in our external reality is actually something that is initiated internally. I find that if there is an inner war, an internal war, then collectively that comes to manifest outside. So it is about really bridging internally, becoming internally integral. And also I feel that my deep intention for doing this work is that I want birth. I know how birth can heal generations. I've seen women transformed through it and by it. And by that, rippling the effects of that, not just to their family, but to their community and the whole world. Yeah, birthing children in love. So, what I want to share with you today is the blueprint that I have been using and have been sharing with the people I work with on how to give birth empowered in a system which works in a specific way. Today, we find ourselves in this very interesting time where we have so many options, right? We have from one side the medical system and the over-medicalization of birth, which is based on the fear that has been captivated and imprinted upon us regarding birth, and birth being like treated like a disease. We have the medical system, which a lot of the times is built upon their legal obligations. So a lot of things that are happening are really based on legalities. And on the other side, because life always perpetuates towards balance, we then shifted into this awakening of women asking for their autonomy, women wanting to have informed choices, and really awakening into birth being, or rather remembering that birth is natural. Birth is something that we've been doing for centuries. This is how we came on earth. Birth is not something dangerous. And having like this free birth autonomy sovereign movement, which in a way holds the other polarity of what has been happening. So we have these two poles, and then we have the women that are awakening into this. Oh, look what's been happening. They also have this deep mistrust to the medical system, to how science has been used. But there's still, but the problem is that there is a lot of conditioning that has shaped us coming to this point of the majority of people having a medicalized birth, and the images of birth that we have been digesting or exposed to, creating this such a strong imprint on what birth is about, that the deconditioning that is needed to have a truly sovereign birth is huge. It's huge. There's so many layers that we need to go through in order to take full responsibility for our own selves and our own births. So what I see truly is that the majority of people are within these two poles. And I feel that the deconditioning should not be forced. It's a natural process that happens. And why not creating or understanding the way that we can have an empowered, autonomous birth within the system, right? So women who see birth as a sacred event, who want to go through an intact transition, but are not ready to have an unassisted birth. Or they're somehow, like me, found themselves in the hospital. You can listen to my full story if you are curious about it in my podcast called Birth Voice. So yes, I speak to these people that belong to this middle ground, that they still want to have a natural birth, but that it doesn't mean that they give themselves away, they give their freedom away, they give themselves away and the sacredness of their birth just because they're in a hospital or an institution, or even work with people like medical midwives, for example, who come to their home, right? Because those people still have to refer back to the system. And it's a very tricky situation to be in. So this work also speaks to people that work around birth, and together with the deep intention on supporting birth as a sacred process, finding ways to weave and be agile within the system. So I will go ahead and share with you this blueprint, the key factors that I found that are deeply important to have a sovereign, autonomous birth guided by your inner compass within the system. There are so many imprints that we can have on different words. Empowerment and power, being in our power. So birth is an initiation. Birth is a place where it is a state where a woman is deeply vulnerable, but also deeply powerful. Because birth by nature is a process that will shake her. It's a process that we find ourselves on the edge so that we can move to the next stage of our evolution, our personal evolution, our soul evolution. So because she is in such a vulnerable stage, what she needs is to keep that process intact so that she can actually gain her ground to the next level of her evolution, of her awakening, of her power. But if this process is not remaining intact, so not just the delivery of the baby, so not just the physical process, but the spiritual, psychosomatic, metaphysical process of birth, then it's very possible that instead of a woman being in her power and going out of it more powerful, having gone through the intact process, she goes through it with her power being stolen or taken away from her, right? And I'm not here to blame people that are there. It's a two-factor thing. So is the women knowing taken away from her, right? And I'm not here to blame people that are there. It's a two-factor thing. So it's the women knowing their inner power, knowing that this is possible, and it's also the people that she surrounds herself with. Because it's very important that in that understanding that birth is not simply a biological phenomenon, and the only way that we can get the full potential of it is by allowing the metaphysical process to remain intact. So knowing that, we can then, in the moments that she weaves, mirror her power back at her instead of taking it. And it's been historically a process that we find ourselves here. Is not just happen in one day. It's how we are trained to be useful, how we're trained to feel powerful. She's hiring me, what, for doing nothing? So being in power is an empowerment, or being in her power is an essential process for allowing this birth to be experienced in its full potential. And that comes with being able to act according to our inner authority. And inner authority means being tuned in with our intuition, being tuned in with our instincts, being in tune with our body. And since we're young, we are gradually being conditioned to to listen to an authority outside of us, of ourselves. School, institutions, religions are slowly programming us to act from, instead of an internal place, from our internal navigation system, following an external navigation system, people's opinions and people's like the masses, the peer pressure. And really that starts with, like, for example, taking our babies to the doctors, and gradually, instead of listening to their bodily boundaries, we expose them to routine checkups, for example, that is almost like consenting to breaking their bodily boundaries, that their consent is not, it doesn't matter really. And we as parents witness that, and that enhances further that what you feel doesn't matter, but someone else's knowledge is more important than what you're feeling right now. And I'm not diminishing some necessary examinations that have to be made, or when the baby is truly sick, for example. That's a deep subject. I am not going to go through it now. But yes, so that starts the giving away our inner power and inner authority, and moving through life by listening to our inner navigation system starts from young age. Being in tune with our guidance system really allow us to be in autonomy. So autonomy is being guided by our inner navigation system and making decisions freely. So it's the freedom to make decisions, not by someone else's pressures, but by our inner authority. So it's the freedom to follow our inner authority, basically. And when it comes to birth, that comes down to your choices in birth, the positions you're going to be in, everything that has to do with you, your body, your physicality, and your baby. So the first key that I want to share with you is education. And that is the first step to your autonomy. And in our days, of course, you can find so many information online. You can even create a birth plan using AI in our days. But what I want to bring in here is a mindset that you need to view education that will help you with whatever is presented to you. And education is important, don't get me wrong. It's really, really important to know your options, to know what you will find when you go there. I worked with so many moms, which are second or third or fourth time moms, and they told me that I went unprepared. I had no idea what I would be going through. I had no idea what I would be presented with right there. And yeah, it felt like I was just taken, and therefore I had to say yes to everything that was given to me. So education is important for being able to stand on your ground. And I don't like the word birth plan because that implies a bit of rigidity. Birth plan is about knowing your options and being able to position with yourself within the spectrum. And in fact, I created a PDF for you, which lists the most common interventions and helps you position yourself where you are for each option. So that is really important because it then helps you prioritize. There is so many interventions that can happen, so many options that you'll be given to choose, that it's so important to position yourself as to what is my priority, what is a definitely no for me, right? So yeah, that's where education comes in. That's where knowing your options, and that is the work that you need to do beforehand. And the next part, when I talk about mindset, it also involves understanding the medical system. So I see the medical system like McDonald's. It's a very rigid system that leads from one step to the other. And this person referring to the person next door so that the other person can take the decision, right? It's a chain that works together by a very rigid, very rigid protocol. So even if we're talking about personalized care, there's still this mindset of like lists. A leads to B and B leads to C. And if B happens, then these are the options. But birth is not like it's not a recipe. It's a highly intelligent, multi-dimensional process that cannot really fit to a protocol. So understanding that how the system works, that when you go in, you know that you will be presented with a gown. And then knowing that, do I want a gown? How does that make me feel? I don't really care wearing a gown. It's easy because I don't have to think of what to wear. So knowing your options, knowing how the system works, what you'll be presented with will help you understand what are your priorities. So the next step, or what education includes for me, is also understanding the constitution of risk. Because really, the constitution of risk is what has created these protocols in the first place. And risk, or what I really see, is that different professionals, different medical professionals, understand risk differently. Because if let's say one professional, like medical professional, risk will be, I really need to reduce at 40 weeks max because then it's dangerous. Okay. But for another professional, it may be like, no, I'll just leave it until 42 weeks. So once I had this conversation with the doctor, obstetrician, asking him, how come you can be so much more relaxed than other colleagues? And he said to me, this is my private clinic, and I know that if something truly needs to happen, let's say if I need to have the baby out in 10 minutes, I'll have the mama in general anesthesia and the baby out, because I know how my system works. I am very confident in allowing this space to have more freedom because he's more confident in himself. So for other professionals, this freedom for the women is more narrow because of their understanding of risk or their circumstances. So risk is not just from a medical perspective, it has been shaped through history. For example, we used to give birth at home, and birth was a natural community-based event. And gradually, we see how birth moved to the hospital. So gradually over time, when birth started becoming a medical process, this has also taken women away from the center of birth and to gradually exclude women's voices, which led to medical dominance over the process. Now, we have also the social and cultural perspective of risk, which was shaped by our belief systems, power, legalities, also economic factors, also gender factors. For example, the only thing that had to do with women's bodies, it was a mystery. So by default, it became something dangerous and something to control. So gradually, again, this was something risky. Birth became something risky according to society and the cultural paradigm that shaped birth. The medical model and constitution of risk narrows down risk into only physical survival, right? And having a mother and a baby, healthy mother and healthy baby. So this biological safety paradigm focuses only on avoiding physical harm rather than also including emotional factors, for example. And everything is viewed through the lens of biological safety. Everything is viewed through the lens of danger. Then we have our own personal perspective that shapes what's risk for us, and that involves our personal experiences, our intuition, our values, and how we experience life so far, if we had previous births, if our friends told us about their own births. So that shapes our own personal perspective. And that comes and that comes down to asking yourself, what does feel safe for me? And that comes down to asking yourself, what does feel safe for me? What is risk and what is safety? Is it danger or is it fear? So this deeper question will help you understand what you feel safer with. So some women, for example, will feel safer to be in a hospital. Some other women will feel safer being at home. Some women feel safe to be at a hospital, but not necessarily having the interventions. So it's very important to understand where you're at with your idea of risk. And this will help you shape your choices, and including who you will have with you in your birth, which brings us to the next key. So once you have positioned yourself by education, the next step is to test the waters. And what I want you to know here is not just about getting your birth plan right. It's not about saying, oh, this is what I want, and that's what I want you to do for me. No, it's about finding the people, the right practitioners that are more aligned with your values. And this comes down to asking the right questions. Again, you will find a lot of this in the PDF that I made for you, and which I'll talk about more at the end. So asking the right questions and going in their office or going to their appointments, having in mind that you're hiring them. So if you go in there knowing that, oh, but is the doctor, I am going to their territory, is not going to help you. You are hiring them. So go there already feeling empowered. Go there knowing that your salary is paying the public hospital, or you're paying privately for hiring these people. So even as the example I gave earlier, within the systems or within different clinics, you can find people that are more aligned to who you are. And how you will find that is asking the right questions, but also having a feel. How does that feel when I go into that appointment? How does it feel when I go to that room? Ask to see the hospital, ask to see the setting, see how it makes you feel, because your intuition, like, does it make you feel small, or do you leave feeling in your power? So a trick here, what I saw, especially with medical practitioners, some of them are very good with talking, some of them are not. So they will be just like, they're surgeons, okay? So you go there and their communication skills are not that good, but they're good doctors, and they respect nature, they respect your choices. On the contrary, some other ones that are very polite and very soft and very communicative may come to be overpowering. So these are the things that you will pick up when you're creating a relationship with them. So remember when we talked about the prioritizing through education? choose something that is commonly used, like, for example, vaginal examinations. If is your priority not to have vaginal examinations, right? Ask them where they position themselves. How would you feel if I say no to a vaginal examination, right? So if they're like absolutely no, right? At least you know where they're standing, because choosing the right practitioner, it's a relationship. It's a two-way thing. It's not about you getting what they want. It's not about them having what they want. It's about a dance. It's about if they are the right fit to you and you are the right fit to them, right? So you need to know them and know where you're standing, and then know them so that you can decide. And the next key is, once you have chosen your practitioner, an important thing to go in the room, an important thing to know, and an important thing to go to your birth with is that you need to own the space. An important thing to go to your birth with is that you need to own the space. For example, if you go to someone's house and you're feeling like, oh, it's their house, and you're tiptoeing around, I was like, I don't know where things are, I don't know how things work, that would make you feel more, restricted in your energy. But if you go and you're there and taking space because it's your birth, that's a totally different picture. And in order to do that, you definitely have to drop I call it the good girl mask, because I see so many women literally holding themselves back in order to be socially accepted. Some women take them the whole pregnancy to even ask questions to their doctors or their midwives, just because they feel restricted in themselves. They're trained, we have been conditioned to be good girls, polite. Birth has no space for politeness, really. Birth is deeply instinctual. Birth is about allowing that animal body to roar. It's not about saying please and thank you, even though you may feel it. So drop that good girl mask. And what I mean by that is not being polite, but is about not allowing the being polite and being good to sabotage your process. So in your background, just because it's not your space, just because of these rigid protocols and how the whole system is set, you probably have, I've seen it many times, have the question, oh, I didn't know I was allowed to do that. Drop that. If you find yourself thinking that or not moving because it's in the background of your head, this is a red flag. So challenge it within yourself. Challenge it by deeply feeling where you are in that moment, deeply following where you are, your basic needs, your inner authority, and not anybody else's. And just I'm telling you right now, you are allowed. Okay. And if you're not allowed, or it goes against the rules, it doesn't hurt asking. Okay. Because you and your baby are the center of this whole process. There would not be any birth if it was not about you and your baby. So instead, a lot of these processes are made to support the system, to support this smooth process of how the system works, sabotaged under, or like hidden under helping you. But is it helping you really? So if you know that you go there being in the center and not the other way around, this will change everything. So it's your energy that you go in. And practically, how you do that, what I found is, if you, let's say, for example, take your music or the lights are dim, automatically, it doesn't just help you, but whoever enters that room they know that they're entering something different than the corridor where they, like, I don't know, chat with the other midwives or attended to something else or attended to another woman. They're entering your sacred space. And the other thing is blindfolds. You see me there when I went to the hospital, blindfold. It also helps me to stay internal, but also it gives out the signal that I don't want to be disturbed. And I also had noise canceling earplugs, which helped me a lot as well. So these are very practical tools that you can do to take your space and to give the signal without needing to talk. The fourth key is support. So in a hospital setting which functions in a certain way, which is there to do things in a certain way, which doesn't necessarily help you and helps your state, it is important to have with you people that deeply know you, that deeply trust birth, right? Because your role in birth is to just birth. As I said in the beginning, it's not about asking questions in that moment or answering questions. It's about when you learn all that, the education part, you have to drop it. Because your role in birth is to stay in your bubble so that your body can do what it's meant to be doing. So you need people who really understand you and they understand birth. The biggest lesson of my birth is the importance of having a doula or a birth keeper. I didn't have one. I didn't find someone, and I thought, oh, maybe I'm not meant to have someone. I had friends. There is a point in birth that every woman says, I cannot do this, right? And those moments are the moments where you need to have next to you the right people that will reflect the power back to you, will remind you of your choices, will stay silent instead of rushing to do something or bring you the next, I don't know, epidural or painkiller or something, or automatically guide you to something else and take you out of that very pivotal moment where you're about to gain the power, a source of power that you never knew you had, just because there's nobody else there to take it. So someone will take that role if there are no people around you that will support the deep knowing that she knows what she's doing. They're intuitively connected to the process. They know the science, they know the background, what is needed to help you being born as a mother through this initiatory process. So when you weave, to find the right support, people that will say the right words, they're not going to over chat or give you so many options that will actually take you away from yourself. So who you bring with you matters. That's the fourth key. The fifth key, which is, I feel, the most important thing in your preparation, is the internal process, right? I say here that I see how birth is nature's way to improve the next generation. And what I mean with that is that so many things will be presented to you in your pregnancy process. I see how birth is nature's way to improve the next generation. And what I mean with that is that so many things will be presented to you in your pregnancy process. How they manifest, it may manifest as trying to find the right birthplace for you, trying to find the right people that will be in your team, having a fight with your partner, having like an argument with your mom, triggering something that you had as a child in your relationship to motherhood, the relationship with your mother, right? And it's not about sitting there and trying to find those things, because your process will bring those things to you. Things will show up. Your responsibility is to know about this and respond to it. Look into your fears, sit there with it. I've been working with women for 10 years. I am really good in supporting women. I'm really good on like helping them with their fears. When it came to me, my process, I had fears I had no idea I had. Somehow pregnancy would kind of bring this up for me to see it right in front of me in my face and have the opportunity to strip myself off from it. That's the true preparation in birth, because this is how you drop your good girl mask. This is how you find the truth about life and death. One woman I was working with told me the thing that she had to face in order to give birth was death. And really a lot of our fears come, if we trace them back, come down to that. They come down to, what am I really afraid? I'm afraid that my baby will die. And that allow us to explore our relationship to life and death. It's very personal, but like, who are we really to control that? And can we really control that? Or the only thing that we have to do is prepare to go through this initiation, knowing that we're doing our best, building that relationship with ourselves, our inner navigation system with our baby, and knowing that we'll make the right choices, and dropping everything when we're there at the birth. We have to drop everything and surrender to the bigger picture. What drives life? What drives life is what takes life away. It's the same power that makes the waves move, that makes our breath breathe, makes that allow us to breathe. The same force that allows the sprouts to become trees and flowers. That's life. And that includes death, frankly. This is the one fear that I feel like every pregnant woman has to face in order to allow herself to go through this initiation and be reborn. And what's the message really is to give birth in love rather than fear. Yeah, simple. So internal preparation is the real work for birth. And my final key that I want to share here with you is embodiment. So we talked about the mental preparation, the emotional inner work, and then the final is the embodiment. Now, birth by default is a process that will naturally take you to these, I call it embodied trance or embodied ecstasy. Ecstasy is a Greek word that means out of the ordinary state of being, and yet truly in the body. Now, it's not something you do, it's something like you're gradually dropping in. It will call you, just like an orgasm or falling asleep. But we need to see what triggers that state and what, or rather, what allows that state, which is feeling safe, feeling relaxed, and being willing to let go. Knowing that birth is governed and controlled by not the thinking brain, but the animal brain, the limbic brain. So learning or remembering how to transition between the two. That is the practicing that you can do to allow that to happen. Right. First is the external part, safeguarding your environment and the condition that needs your body needs to work. And that is bright light, communication. So anything that will take you into your thinking brain. I like to give the example when you're having sex and someone enters the room, or like your mom calls you, or you or your partner asks, what are we having for dinner? These things are taking you into the thinking brain, and then you cannot really drop into your body. So anything, or if you feel unsafe. So anything that takes you away from that, being able to drop in your body. are the external conditions that you need to prepare in advance in order for you to be able to drop in there. As I mentioned, I had a blindfold and noise canceling. That helped me very much. So that's what favors this state. And then why we get into this state in birth is because of the hormones, really. We have oxytocin, we have serotonin, dopamine. These will take you into a trance, or some women describe it as like a deep cave. These are the states that allow healing, deep awakening, that allow the metamorphoses beyond just birthing a baby, right? So we need to safeguard these conditions even within a hospital. So another thing that you can do is to practice, even though you cannot really practice other than the shifting between the body and the head, being able to shift quickly. Because if you're taking in your head all the time, that sabotages birth. And literally the people that are there, that they are in their mind and asking you question in that moment, you look at them thinking like, what? They're from another planet. So by the end, I remember like when I witnessed this happening to women, they're being asked a question, even though I think that every medical person should be trained about this. The science is there, but really practically trained not to ask all those questions because it's like the woman doesn't know how to answer in that moment. It's like, just leave me alone. It's too much. Just because she's in another state of being. Yeah, I was saying about practicing letting others witness you in that state. Witness you being in your body, witness you breathing, sounding, roaring, moving, guided by your inner system. So when we're witnessed, we're changing. Quantum physics. So what if you practice not changing, really not giving a shit about who's there? That is your practice so that you can fully drop in and allow birth to happen. Safeguarding it by training your partner, your mother, your sister, friend, whoever is there for you to help you stay in that state. Ideally, someone who's also trained for that and knows about these states, knows how to go with you in those states. This is what I do with women. Even when nobody goes there with her, I am there knowing that she is in that state and preventing whatever takes her out of that state to influence her. So yeah, having someone there that knows about this is really important to allow you to birth. And I say here, breath, sound, and movement are the most fundamental tools that will anchor you into your body. And I have prepared a breathing practice for you. I will share with you at the end on how to access it. So in summary, the keys, we talked about education that allows you to be agile and allows you to position yourself. Then communicating this, asking the right questions in order to find the practitioners that are right for you. Going in there and showing up, taking space. You are the center and you're hiring them. Finding the right support, because who is with you matters. Because this is the only way you can just do what you're there to be doing, which is birthing. Instead of answering questions like, what's your passport number? So inner preparation and embodiment are the real work for birth. And safeguarding the conditions that allow you to be in this state as much as possible. These are the keys. This is the blueprint that I wanted to share with you. I really hope that no matter where you give birth, you will be able to walk out of the room knowing that you did it. I birthed, I did it, not like Oh, thank you, doctor. If it wasn't for you, I would not have given birth. Yes, we're grateful for the people that are there and supporting us. But really, when people say thank you to me, I'm like, you did it. You did it. I was just standing there. I came to realize that's a very important thing, to have people that are just standing there holding space for you to be the center. So be informed, educate yourself, align yourself with your values, and surround yourself with people that remind you of who you are. I would love to hear from you if you've been touched or what you've learned from this. I realized after being a mom and not working as much as I was before being a mom, how important is the reflection of my community to keep me going? And yeah, I would love to hear from you. I mentioned I prepared 2 gifts for you. One is a PDF with most common interventions, what you'll be presented with when you're there, the questions to ask, and that will help you prioritize what's important to you. And also a breathing practice, like a somatic breathing practice. You can find that in my website, womanawakenings.com/empowered-birth. You can print screen this slide so that you can have access to it whenever you want. And you can also find me in my podcast, Birth Voice, and my Instagram account. On my website, you can scroll down and find my contact details. You can even message me through WhatsApp. I would love to hear from you. Thank you for your time.